Joe Woods over and all, I got to give him an A-. Give Joe Woods an A-. He did his thing, man.
A-.
But before you go, Justin Klink says we should let these dudes dress up for Halloween every week. What a win. They came out in
Hey, listen, we were saying before the game, we were in our text chain saying Myles Garrett did all this talking this week. They did a feature story on his house and all this, and he's dressed up in this elaborate costume, and he backed it up, man. He backed it up in a big way. Especially early in the game, he got the defense going by creating havoc, made a great play.
All right, there you go. I was already said hello to everybody, even though we weren't on live. It's a bad job out of me.
It was nice to hear, though.
But
like 5 times.
Out.
Cold open, 32 seconds.
And
Cold
I knew
open,
it.
32
and
seconds.
I knew it. And then I just went anyway.
I popped in literally 7 seconds before the opening theme song.
I know. I pulled the J. I pulled the J.
My teacher used to always say, it's because you're not actively listening.
I was actively listening. Jay is actually not paying attention. I was.
And now he's blamed. He's spreading the blame.
Now just throwing Jay on there. He's not here to defend himself.
Jason Aruba catching.
Yeah,
right. He didn't even. He's gonna show up back. He's gonna have 1,000 texts from all of us about these games and stuff because he didn't get involved at all.
No, he's deep at sea.
Oh yeah, and who knows what else? All right, the Browns win. How about that? The season's fixed. They're gonna win 10 in a row. Everything's.
Super
I don't
Bowl,
know.
baby. Super
I don't know
Bowl.
what's gonna happen, but for one night at least, guys.
One night only.
This team was phenomenal. G, start us off. Because you've been a harsh critic of Kevin Stefanski, but what a night for the Browns last night.
Hey,
Perfect
man,
game.
listen, he did everything he was supposed to do, man. He finally actually came out there, and I like the fact that, and we'll probably talk about this, all of the things that we wanted to see, magically, they have these little things where they don't do it for a while, then you come back to it. I saw Kareem Hunt in the backfield multiple times. I saw him back there with Nick Chubb multiple times. I thought he was very intentional about the way he ran the football, and we'll probably get into that later on as well. But I like the way that they had a game plan on defense, too. Joe Woods and this defense plays better when they are aggressive. I could point out 4 or 5 games where I love the movement up front. I like the fact that they're moving Clowney around. They moved Myles Garrett around. And I think what you see is sometimes when you are desperate and your back's against the wall, you put people in the game like Taki who are emotional. The guy, he's not going to be spectacular for you. He doesn't have the range that JOK has. But one thing he does have is the fact that he reads his assignments. He's assignment conscious, and he's where he was supposed to be. I thought he had a great game. And then obviously you got a guy like Martin Emerson, who I think he's playing like one of the best corners that the Browns have right now, and that's over Denzel Ward. And a lot of people looked at me like I was crazy, but I liked what they did.
He's playing well.
Overall, I love the game plan. I love the fact that they took 3 points. I love the fact that they took 3 points before the half. That 11-point lead was very key.
Well, Mike Polk, as you represent the nervous faction of our fan base. You're always nervous going into every game, more nervous than most of us. So as the representative of the nervous people out there, were you one of these nudnicks who at 25-0 and I tweet, oh, Browns are playing great. Don't do that, Adam. No. They might cost them the game. Were you one of those people?
First of all, nervous is not, that's a misrepresentation of my philosophy.
What is it?
Mine is just resolved, just resigned.
to things
just
bad
I
happening.
Accept, that I assume that's going to happen, but I'm not like, oh golly, I hope we don't lose or get. I'm just like, I watch the game, and I see what they put in front of me, and I expect the worst. I do, but I'm not on edge about it. I've come to terms. That game though was obviously a very fun watch, but I found it equally frustrating because I'm looking at all this talent that we've known is on this roster this whole year, being utilized properly, being in the right places at the right time, playing the way that we knew that they're capable of playing. And as much as I celebrated that win and had a blast watching it, and I did very much so, I'm also just like, all you can think about in the back of your head is what could have been if this would have happened earlier, and none of it looked that hard to execute. They just did pretty much exactly what the fan base has been begging them to do for a very long time now, and it paid off in spades. So while it was extremely exciting and very cool to watch, it was also very frustrating for me.
We'll get to. I want to talk a little more about that, but Jason, first with you, the Browns. I don't even worry about the rookie season for Joe Burrow, because the rookie season the Browns had the better team. In 2020, the Browns were a better football team than the Bengals.
Yep.
But last year, the first time the Browns played the Bengals, they had their whole starting lineup. The Bengals. They had Jamar Chase for that game, and the Browns just killed them. And once again last night they killed them. Is there something to this? And why do you think the Browns have this edge over the Bengals for some reason?
I don't think there's any logical
coincidence?
Yeah, I don't think there's any logical explanation for why the Browns seem to dominate Joe Burrow.
It's bizarre.
Go back to last year in Cincinnati. He's moving him down the field on the opening drive, and then Denzel Ward, 90-some-odd yard interception return, pick six the other way, and it changes the entire dynamic of that game the rest of the way. And last night felt much the same way. You know, the Bengals are at their best when they spread 5 wide, put Burrow in the shotgun, and let him go. And they weren't able to get to that last night. The Browns brought pressure. They brought blitzes. They were sending more than 4 at times. Taki played out of his mind. It was the best game he's played. It feels like sometimes he runs himself out of plays. He runs himself out of position. And last night, he was always in the right place at the right time. Garrett played. That was Myles' best game of the season. Yeah. The spin move he put on, that's like a cheat code. Like, that shouldn't be legal. Because how do you block that?
Yeah.
And I'd like to see more of that. I will have, as Anthony's mom brings in all of
Shout out to Anthony's mom. What's your mom's name, Anthony?
Jan.
Shout out to Jan.
Shout out.
I am going to eat this entire bag.
You do know why.
She sent us Halloween candy.
You do know why she brought you those, because I said yesterday what the number one joint was. It's definitely Reese cups. Anything Reese's.
Well, I could eat that whole bag too.
We can pass that your way. I don't need
I've
any
had
of
10
this
so
stuff.
far.
Hey, shout out to Jan's like slow trick or treat traffic in her neighborhood.
Yeah.
And that's why this is here. Don't act like Jan was treating us to this because she loves us. She's like, get this out of the house. Give it to those fat guys on that station.
But this will be my victory Reese's for calling that the Browns would pull their Chubb out.
Yes.
2 touchdowns.
You
And
did
nailed
that.
it.
Not
Nailed it.
And
You're gonna
a really
win,
clever,
but you didn't really
metaphor
get it.
too. Clever
Of course
metaphor.
I got
You
it.
didn't really, because that second Chubb touchdown was irrelevant
You
to the
are
game.
out of your mind.
I can't believe
That's factually correct.
No,
That game was not over.
Will someone
It
please
was 25-0 already.
And then they scored the other way.
Get
Right
outta
away.
here.
give
The game was
Jason
over.
credit for calling that the best running back in the NFL might get a couple of touches near the red zone.
There you
Here's
go.
what's
Good
amazing.
job, man.
Guys,
So
here's what's
smart.
Jason wins the headline, by the way.
He's
Take
doing
it real
that.
quick. In case you missed it yesterday, Bull.
Drop that.
You can take his headline.
Yeah, he did win.
Drop
This
that.
is Jason's headline. He does win. He's our Week 8
They did-
winner.
yeah.
Browns pull out their Chubb. Nick Chubb rushes for 2
But-
touchdowns, an upset win. That's
By
all
the way,
true. It has to
absolutely.
It is true. By the way, a few things here. First of all, this idea that they used Nick Chubb more, yeah, they did, because they had a big lead in the fourth quarter. They didn't use him any more through 3 quarters than they have
He
in the
had
other
2
games.
carries in the first quarter. 2.
Yeah, and he had, I think, 12 after 3 quarters.
I think you're right. I have to
Yeah.
go back and look. I think
so
it was
they didn't
12.
use him any more early. They
But-
used him because they were
Yeah,
up big and they put him away.
And I actually asked Kevin about this after the
Yeah.
game. After the Cooper debacle on the double reverse interception, when he was trying to throw the ball out of bounds, and he was great about it.
Oh, he was trying to throw it out of bounds?
He was trying to throw it out of
Didn't
bounds.
seem like it.
He threw it right at him. But
Yeah.
and
The
he's-
dots of this play are amazing.
it's great.
It is. You're right. That is hilarious.
Both he and Kevin said it's a lot harder to throw it out of bounds than he thought it was. He
Yeah.
was off balance. He was falling down. It was a terrible throw.
Yes.
He
And
called it an abomination.
And we all get to
Good.
be smiling about it and making a joke about it because we
because they
won.
won.
But what if that had cost them the
Oh,
game?
if they lost, G
We'd
would
be
be calling
furious.
for Stefanski to be
But
fired.
right now, we're all
Jay would call for Maruba for Stefanski to be fired.
But we're using-
Brad Sellers
Yep.
would be, we're not
No.
getting better. You know, I
Yep,
mean,
because we won.
No,
you liked it.
When I was on the radio, I said, this game, I don't care what they got to do. They got to break tendencies. They got to come out. They do. If you got some trick plays you ain't used, if you got a fake punt you want to throw out there, if you got a reverse you want to do, you better get it off right now, because I don't think you have a very good chance.
But
Go ahead.
it felt like after that play, and Kevin even said, yeah, you feel like an idiot when it blows up that badly.
Of course.
But it really, if you go back and look at the play calling, and it felt in the moment like the Browns said, you know what, screw it. We're going to run the ball.
Yeah.
We're going to line up, and we're going to run the ball. And they did it with Kareem. They did it with Nick.
Yep.
And they got the touch.
But here's the thing, guys. Let me get two things in here. Number one, to your point of why haven't we seen this all year? This is the NFL. Okay?
Yes.
Basically, 27 out of 32 teams are inconsistent every week.
Yes.
That's just the way it is. So, first of all, the Browns, no team is capable of playing the way they played every week.
Right.
Even the best teams don't really play that well. The Browns played at an absurd level.
Right.
They're not that good that they should play that well every week. Doesn't mean they can't win a lot of games. Number two, what's remarkable is, for all the talk about the running game, if you had to grade the Browns last night, pass defense, run defense, pass offense, run offense, I'd put the run offense last of those 4 avenues in terms of how they performed yesterday.
See, but here's the problem. See, not so fast, my friend, in my Lee Corso voice.
Yeah.
You see, it's not just about how many carries or whatever the situation is. You got to look at it at the way you're intentional about running the game. See, it's a mindset, right? And people miss the emotional part of the game. When you're on defense, and I've been in both, where you got a great offensive player or you got a great teammate on the other side of the ball that is just good. You know how good he can be. When he is moving and when you make an emphasis to say they're going to get him involved, what it does, it gives you that energy, that synergy of saying, okay, guys, we got to get this dude the ball back. Hey, guys, hey, look, we running Chubb today. They can't stop me. He coming off to the sideline after he break a couple little runs. It gives you that leverage. You're like, look, dude, we got to go out and do our part. Chubb is running. The coaches is giving the ball to one of our best players. Now we running. That gives.
The point is he's had much bigger games this year in the first 3 quarters than he did yesterday.
But here's the thing: it's not about the yardage. It's not about he has bigger quarters this way or that way. They committed to it. Not only did they commit to Nick Chubb, they committed to Kareem Hunt. Mm-hmm. You saw Kareem Hunt getting touches. Now they're like, oh, it's about the identity, who you are. I don't got a problem if you come out there and you run the ball and they stop you, because the Bengals did a good job to me in stopping them. But my thing is, if you're going to be about that life, if you're a run team and they stop your run, clap it up for them.
One more credit to the offensive line too. Reminder how beat up they are.
Yeah.
Here's some of the guys who played last night on offensive line. Ethan Posick.
He's playing well. Center.
Hajat Frodo Holt.
What's his name?
He's replaced Teller at right
Michael
guard.
Dunn, Drew Forbes, and James Hudson. So, these guys, they're also they're playing pretty dinged up, too, and still moving these guys.
Well, they still had 4 of their 5 starters on the offensive line. Yeah. They were using some extra guys on plays.
Right. I love
and
that.
The offensive line did a great job.
Yeah.
They do deserve full kudos. Haagen-Dazs there, who's playing right tackle.
That's his name, Haagen-Dazs.
That's what we're calling him.
Haagen-Dazs.
Not Froholt.
Okay,
we're calling him Haagen-Dazs. He's done a great job. We haven't called his name once since he's been filling in, so we didn't call Pocich's name. I'm not calling your name on the offense. The only name we've really called on the offensive line is Jedrick Wills.
Yes.
They called out a lot.
That's about it.
They showed them really moving.
They did. They did, certainly. But I'm just talking in general, when we don't hear the offensive lineman's name, that means they're doing a good job.
Yeah.
And PFF grades offensive. And I know we're not married to the PFF grades.
I like PFF. I don't care what other people say. I think it's generally good.
This is their offensive line grades for the Browns yesterday. You ready? Pocic was the highest grade offensive lineman in the league in Week 8 with a 94 grade. He's been phenomenal in a Browns uniform. Batonio, 93, the 3rd highest grade offensive lineman in the league. Brissett had a 90. Michael Dunn with an 86.
Brissett had a 90?
91 overall PFF grade.
I thought you were just doing offensive linemen.
Well, 7 of the top 8 are offensive linemen, is my point. Then you get Michael Dunn had an 86. Jedrick Wills had an 85. James Hudson had a 71. Froholt had a 65, and Conklin was the lowest graded at a 63, which was still higher than 4 of the 5 Bengals offensive linemen. They were phenomenal. And here's a quote from James Hudson. This is from Zach Jackson, or not a quote, but take tag word full, Steve. This is what I think is really cool about this Browns team. They were rewatching and re-celebrating that block in the locker room, according to Zach Jackson.
That was an all-time block right there.
Which was an awesome block.
I talked to James about that block after the game, and I told him, you took that man's soul. I still don't know who he hit.
It was a linebacker.
And he didn't even know. That's what he said. I said, who was he?
He's happier that we don't know.
I don't know. It was some linebacker.
Yeah.
I mean, he pulled and he steamrolled.
I said, was that the first time you've ever been in motion on a play? He goes, oh, yeah. He loved it. He had a blast doing it. And he said it was the best hit of his career.
Did you see him real quick? Did you see him run away from that block like Shaq after the Kobe alley-oop?
Yeah.
He was running around pointing up That is
a highlight for a lineman.
Exactly. That's a touchdown.
Yeah.
That is a grand slam.
Yep.
You get that, it's over. Like, this the league. You don't take nobody off their feet.
He should get a poster made of it. Like he's blocking somebody.
That was the play. They had 8 linemen in the game. 8 on that play.
Your boy Jeff was trying to argue with me that it was 7 last night.
No, it was all linemen.
8.
That's
it was
how
8
you.
linemen.
That's how you know they was married to the run game.
Because they had 7
is
on
an
the
eligible
line.
receiver.
Because they had 7 guys on the line and then Drew Forbes as a fullback on that play.
That just means you know what we're gonna do to you, but you can't stop it. And if you're a D lineman, I've been in that situation. It's the most demoralizing, emasculating situation ever. That you got all these grown men on the other side, plus Nick Chubb. You know good and well you ain't got nothing for that. Okay. It's just so I was encouraged by the fact. I even liked the fact that he snapped the ball to Nick Chubb. We have never seen that. I thought he was creative. I thought he did what he needed to do. And by the way, I thought he was very calculated because they was up 8. They went for the 2. I said, okay, he's not playing. I like the fact that it only came. It was 1 yard. He said, okay, they jumped off.
After the 12 men,
yes.
We'll take the penalty, move it to the 1.
When it got up 8, it felt big because it felt like this is going to be meaningful because the Bengals couldn't move the ball the first couple of plays.
Right.
I was like, oh, this is meaningful. And then he got the 3 before halftime.
Well, but then what was huge is that the Bengals get the turnover.
That's where
they're driving. You're thinking maybe they're going to go in for 7. They have an easy field goal that McPherson misses, and then the Browns quickly go down and get a field goal. So instead of 8-7 or 8-3 at halftime, it's 11-0, and it felt like more than that.
Game changer. That changed the entire momentum of the game. And because, again, Jacoby played really well last night.
Yeah.
But there was the one catastrophic play where he gets the ball knocked out. I thought he was trying to throw it away. Replay showed it looked like he got his arm hit.
Yeah. They called it an interception first, and then they changed it to a fumble.
Yeah.
Not that it matters,
all right, whatever. So Bengals get the ball, and you're right. Zach Jackson and I are in the press box going, well, here it is. Like 8-7 at the half now. Bengals are going to punch this in.
Yep.
To come away with no points, for Cade to kick, I think, a 55-yarder at that point. Rebuild
especially
some
after missing.
After getting 2 blocked, the one last week
Right.
and then the first one last night blocked, to get points out of that and then come back at the start of the third quarter and get points again to get the double dip. It felt like it really changed the momentum of the game.
By the way, did anybody else notice this? I'm sure. I feel like nobody else would have noticed this, but I was when McPherson misses the field goal. It didn't get blocked. He just joked and missed the kick, right? You see, they show Prefer on the sideline like this.
Oh, yeah.
Like his special teams accomplished. He got it done.
He was like,
like, what did you do? The guy missed. You didn't do anything.
Okay, allow the man to celebrate.
No, he sucks at his job. He sucks at his job. And he's homophobic, so he can go F himself.
So he doesn't get joy in his life. He's bad at his job.
He's a bad person, and they should fire his ass. They should have never hired him in the first place.
It's not that he's celebrating that his special teams did something. It's that
he said people should be shot to the moon a long number of years ago. He's a bad human being.
How many number of years ago?
4 or 5, 6,
okay,
whatever.
That's
in the last decade.
That's much too recent.
In the last decade.
Much too recent. I was going to say, remember Jackie Gleason used to say, hey, one of these days, Alice, pow, right in the kisser. Yeah. He threatened to punch his wife. But we all celebrated him.
Right.
He's like the voice of. But
speaking of which, totally off track, we've taken us, but I'm going to stick with it for another second before we get back to the mouth. I was just discussing with some friends yesterday how in the 80s there was a movie called Soul Man.
Yes.
Where C. Thomas Howell wore blackface.
Yes.
And was pretending to be a black guy.
Yes.
And like nobody thought anything of this.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's crazy.
I mean, there was a guy named Archie Bunker.
He did blackface too.
I mean, this guy, he did everything.
Culture changes and shifts over time.
Speaking of Archie Bunker, I just saw a picture of Edith Bunker in like a leather bustier with Alice Cooper a minute ago. How crazy is that?
I
just happened to randomly see it on Twitter as I was scrolling through. They had a picture of it. I don't know
why.
We are
19 minutes into the show. We've discussed blackface, Edith Bunker, and Alice Cooper.
Leather bustier.
Yep. It's Victory Tuesday, baby.
If that's on your bingo card, you win.
Let's go.
And
Let's
Anthony's
go.
mom.
Yeah, it's time for another
Candy.
And
Anthony's mom in an appropriate way.
We've mentioned someone's mother 5 to 6 times, and it's kind of like, okay.
All right, Jason, inside the locker room yesterday.
Yep.
Remember last week, yelling and screaming inside the locker room? We wanted to see if that motivated them. It's easy for us to say, well, the yelling and screaming turned them around. Who knows if that's true or a coincidence? you never know. You were in there again yesterday. What was the vibe in the locker room?
It felt like they clinched a playoff spot. Like it was.
Is that bad though?
But I'll take it.
Here's why I'll allow it. It saved their season.
Yep.
If they lose that game,
it certainly did.
If they lose that game, knock down the stadium and expand the airport. There's no reason to play.
They should do that anyway. Well, not stadium part, but
but
get rid of the
your
Wait, expand the
season's-
airport? No.
Burke, I'm
Get rid of it. I got it. Sorry, go.
Jeez.
Sorry, bad job on me.
I'll just leave the jokes to you.
He just
because
bombed it twice for you.
Pour water all
it was a
over
good
it.
joke.
Picking it apart.
So anyway, but I mean, if you lose that game, your season's over at the bye. Like you have nothing left to play for.
Yeah.
You're just in purgatory until Deshaun Watson comes back, and then see what you got the last handful of games. They're still in the game now. The music, it's faint, but it's still playing. You've got a chip in the chair. You still have a chance. That's why I think there was so much jubilation. Plus, we all know about all the talking going on in the offseason with the Bengals receivers, Browns defensive backs. But especially Myles, by the end of his press conference last night, I was like, boy, he's really preening. Like, he's really leaning into this. But for the moment, you allow it because, again, 3-5 is much different than 2-6. And driving home last night, I couldn't help but think of the Jets game. And I just wonder if weeks 15, 16, 17, we're going to be saying, if only they fell on the onside kick. Just fall on the ball. Just fall on the ball.
Right.
How much different? You can do this with every game. I understand. But that was a historic
A lot
loss.
of teams, a lot of games, but
Yeah,
that was
but
a
that's
historic
a historic
collapse.
loss. How different is our conversation today if they're 4-4 going into the bye
Absolutely.
over 3-5?
Oh, yeah.
But
And by
they
the way, they
saved
have
their
3
season.
home games left.
That's crazy. They saved their season for the
Yeah.
moment.
Yes.
Celebrate that. They should enjoy it. Go into the bye. Take some time off. You still have something to play
If
for.
you had to bet still at this moment, Browns make the playoffs.
No.
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 In the group text.
But they still have a chance.
In the group text yesterday, I did love the exchange that you guys had when you were saying, and I brought this up last week, if you'll recall.
Yeah.
Myles Garrett's Halloween display.
Yeah.
Where he had the Stranger Things thing, and
Yeah.
and that was more like, I love that he likes Halloween. I love that he's a big kid. All that stuff's fun and stuff. But all that stuff seems more fun when you're winning than when you're losing.
Oh, my God.
And as we discussed in the Halloween thing, when he's walking in dressed as a monster, when he's showing off his
Great
Halloween
show that you
house.
disparaged last week.
Yes, I'm fine with it. It's a kid's show. It's just not for
Not
me. All right, never mind. So, but anyways, we were just saying how much worse that all would have seemed and looked if they had lost last night.
I was going to light him up if they lost.
Light
and he came
him
in
up.
to the
Because-
press
but
room.
you know
I
what I
let it
mean?
go the first time. He did it. He wore his Grim Reaper costume
Yes.
after a loss to the Steelers.
Yes.
Into
Yeah.
the media room, and I let it go. But I thought if he does this again, I'm going after him.
I know.
But
I know what I
we don't have
sound
to worry
like.
about
It's
that.
the millennials. It's the millennials, like the older school guys. They're just like, you don't celebrate that stuff after a loss.
Yeah, they
You
don't be
don't
paying-
get to have fun.
But it's like
unless you're winning. If you're winning, you can do whatever the hell you want. The Chicago Bears made the Super Bowl shuffle, one of the worst things anyone's
Yes.
ever seen.
Yes.
But they were winning, so you're just like, yeah, go for it, man.
Worse than that, by the way, that Joel Bitonio, Jack Conklin commercial last year. Do you remember that one?
Yes.
That was way worse.
Let's bring that out. I'll find that.
We got. Have you guys seen that?
Yes.
It's great.
The
That is the
Super Bowl
worst thing ever, and I
yeah.
love
We'll
it.
talk about it.
love it.
Yeah.
I will say this though, they look like they're kind of having fun in it.
That's true.
You know what I
Making
mean?
fun
Like
of
they know
themselves in
it's
a way.
bad, and they're just like, we know how embarrassing this is, but we're
Yeah.
getting $800.
And not only did Myles Garrett do all the Halloween stuff, which you're going to get on him probably if they lose.
Yes.
He also did a lot of talking this week.
Absolutely.
But he backed it up.
Yes, he did.
Yes.
Best game of the year.
100%. He played great. He set the tone early with that big sack with the
Yep.
tip that leads to the pick. He was huge last night.
Well, a lot of these kids don't be listening to nothing we be saying. Like, they in a whole nother generation. Like, they be out there doing little stuff. They be trying to have fun. Like, contrary to popular belief, that stuff doesn't hinder you from going out and playing.
No.
Like if Myles Garrett wears a cape and a Dracula fangs every week,
Yeah.
his ass can still get blocked. Like that don't got nothing to do with me putting hands on you. You could get blocked, you could be terrible, or you could go play well. So, but I think I like the fact that I saw two or three people with that level of emotion. My problem with the Cleveland Browns is when you don't play with emotion on defense, you can be level-headed and be an offensive lineman or a receiver or a quarterback, but that crap don't work on defense, man. I hadn't seen nobody in nobody's faces. I hadn't seen nobody getting any dust-ups on the sideline. I didn't even see coaches yelling at each other, right? that type of energy, you need it. You need somebody to be like, this is unacceptable. We got to get this thing done. And some people lead by example. So I think when he was talking, he put the pressure on himself because he knows what everybody else will say if you didn't perform. But he did what he's supposed to do. He put the pressure on himself. And when he plays with emotion, if he gonna get Taki to play like that, wear your capes. If you gonna get Emerson to play like that, I'm all for it.
Yeah,
go
vampire fangs, whatever you want to put in.
But be Frankenstein the whole year. But I like that's the energy that they played with. You can tell on TV which team, and you can always tell this whenever you watch TV, watching a football game. You can always know which team came to play and which team got that little, like, I'm up for this game. You know it within the first quarter. And you saw the Browns playing, and I looked at the Bengals and was like, hey, y'all going to be for a long one after that first quarter because it's 2 minutes left in the first quarter. No score. I said, oh, y'all needed to get 10-14 for the Bengals. And when the Browns jumped out to that lead, I said, oh, they're for a long night. And it was.
Bengals scored. Nobody scored any touchdowns against them in the second half until yesterday.
Browns scored 3.
Three? Was it 3? Yeah, 3 touchdowns.
In the second half,
Yeah.
Bull, you mentioned earlier about the dust up in the locker room last week that had nothing to do with the performance. I don't think it did. For whatever reason, getting their ass kicked by the Patriots seems to wake up this defense. It did last year. They got their pants pulled down last year in Foxborough, and it was a completely different defensive unit the second half of the season.
Yeah.
And they got embarrassed again. It was a horrible loss against New England here at home a couple weeks ago. And I mentioned this yesterday, and part of the reason I picked the Browns to win. You saw some glimmers of hope against the Ravens, the way that they were able to contain Lamar, the way that they forced the turnover late in the game and gave the offense a chance to win. They should have won that game. They should have won at Baltimore. There was enough there to make you think, okay, maybe they're starting to figure some things out. That translated into last night. It carried over into last night. There was never a point where you throw your hands up and go, what is John Johnson doing? I never threw my hands up and said, where's Grant Delpit? What is he thinking?
He made some plays last night.
They did. And you're starting to see this thing come together. And Myles stopped short of saying that the defense has figured it out and turned it around, which he should. They're not there yet. But you're starting to see – I can't explain why it takes a half a season for them to figure it out, and that can't continue. You can't waste a half of a season with awful defensive play.
We should schedule the Patriots for the first game of the year next year.
And just get it out of the way.
I do think the defense played basically a perfect game. I don't care that it wasn't. It was a shutout for all intents and purposes. The game was over by the time the Bengals scored.
Yeah.
I don't care about Browns' paranoia. The game was over by the time the Bengals scored. The Bengals had their passing game was inept. Their running game was inept. They couldn't do anything. And this is without the Browns having 3 starting linebackers.
But didn't you feel a lot more comfortable with that much more of a cushion with Kevin Stefanski making those decisions, and he seemed a lot calmer and all of his choices seemed better?
I, unlike a lot of people, trust Kevin Stefanski. I think overall he's done a good job in his time in Cleveland. I don't think he's without flaws. I certainly think he deserves some criticism over the time, especially I thought last week in Baltimore and even against New England. I think there's fair criticism sometimes. But I thought he was the right choice. I still think he's the right choice. Ultimately, I think there's questions about his assistant coaching staff. I'm not taking Joe Woods off the hook just because the Browns played a great game on defense yesterday.
Yeah.
And I certainly don't think Prefer's any good. I think he needs to be gone. It didn't really change anything for me on Stefanski.
I do think that was a textbook way that they want to play and close out a game.
Of course,
they have a lead in the fourth quarter. Give it to Nick, give it to Kareem, close out the win. And, Bull, we were texting yesterday.
Yeah.
Everyone's going to make a big deal about Nick got to 20 carries and they won. Folks,
so stupid.
There's not a magic number about 20. If that was the case, just hand it to him 20 times to start the game.
I mean, it's
no. Hey, where's the stat at? Can we get the stat?
Put it up.
Put the stat. When he gets how many carries?
I will say the stat.
The stat is embarrassing for a couple of
Throw it out there.
First
I
of all,
will
it's
say
way
the stat.
too small
Hold
a
on,
sample
Bull.
size.
Let me say the stat so people know what stat we're talking about.
Yeah.
When Nick Chubb gets at least 20 carries this season, the Browns are 3-0. When he doesn't, they are 0-5. I will add no more context whatsoever.
Yeah, right.
Context
That
is
stat
unneeded
with no
when you cherry pick
context
stats like
says,
that.
like
100% of the time.
What gets him, it's not about 20 carries.
Right.
It's about the rhythm of the offense. It's about sustaining drives that puts them in position to give him extra carries.
That's right.
But it has nothing to do with, okay, he got to 20, they're going to win the game.
Yeah,
I feel like
He had 17 carries in that Jet game. They didn't lose because he didn't get to 20 carries.
He didn't get to
That's ridiculous.
And if he would have ended at 19 carries last night,
right,
they still would have won the game.
He could have ended at 14 carries. They still would have won because they were up 25-0 by the time he had 12 carries.
Yesterday, he almost scored on his. Well, he should have scored on what would have been his 15th carry. And I told you he's going to get 2 touchdowns and 15 carries. You talk about pulling your Chubb out. You would have seen me going.
I give you full credit for the pull. I'll take out my objection.
Listen,
full credit for the pulling your Chubb.
You're missing the point. The point is, if you get out of the minutia, it's like, listen, when you have your best player, you want him to have the ball as many times as you can.
Yeah.
But nobody was arguing that.
Well, here's what I'm saying. If I got Nick Chubb and he could get me 16 carries and still get me 100 yards, me, my little old self, I'm over here. Well, I'm not a math whiz, but if he getting me 120 on 16, if I just go ahead and amateurize that over the length of 10 more carries,
but that's not how it works.
Why don't it work that way?
Just because he got 120 on 16 doesn't mean he's going to get 10 more with every carry he gets. That's not.
But that's why we have an average. That's why we have how many yards he averages a touch, right?
I just think in the NG we obsess too much about the play calling. And the Browns, I don't think, have lost or won any games because
there
of play calling.
There were dudes open all over the field.
Yeah, and Jacoby Brissett played great. Jacoby Brissett averaged like 12 yards per attempt.
They should experiment, though. And
we haven't even talked about him at all, by the way.
Get over 20 times.
We are going to talk about Brissett. Sorry to cut you off, Paul. We want to do a ton of Brissett stuff because he deserves a lot of credit.
He was awesome.
And wait till you see some stats, some advanced stats I found. They're going to blow your mind. But Polk, we will get to Brissett. You had the floor.
No. I was just going to say we should just put the stat to rest. Just keep giving him the ball over 20 times until it doesn't work anymore, and then we can stop talking about this.
And if they lose when he gets over 20 carries, I'm not going to be dopey enough to say, well, they lost because he got more. That's stupid.
Right.
Picking an arbitrary number of carries is not the point.
No. What it does, on the defensive side of football, you have to game plan for certain things. So when the Browns come out and they run the ball, they run zone, they run off tackle, they run gap blocking, they run everything up front. They can do everything with the offensive line. So when you come out and Nick Chubb gets the ball 20 times, there's a variation of plays that you automatically have to figure out. And the thing about having Chubb and Hunt in the backfield at the same time is now there was a mismatch somewhere. Because first of all, both of them never go down after the first person hits them. Yeah. So now you got defensive backs, and now you got linebackers that are in a mismatch with these two guys. It's not about how many necessarily, on this play should have ran on this. It's about being committed and making the other team understand you have to come and you got to stop me on this one so that those other people can be wide open.
I just don't buy that they were any more committed to the run yesterday than they were any other game. It's just that they were up so big in the fourth quarter that they piled up the carries in the fourth quarter, which they should and which they will in most games.
The only reason I disagree with you on that is because look at the touches for Kareem Hunt.
Well, they did give Kareem Hunt the ball more. But I think we're just a prisoner of the moment to some degree because the last 2 weeks they haven't run the ball. We could argue they haven't run the ball enough.
I do think Chubb and Hunt need to be on the field more together.
But they weren't anymore yesterday.
Oh, yeah, they were.
They
were.
The whole first
significantly more.
Yeah, they were.
The whole first.
I don't know off the top of my head, but it was because we saw it in the opener, and they seemed to go away from it, and then it came back for a couple plays.
We've all been screaming about that.
Last night felt like the most. I don't have the numbers, but
I'll look up to it. But Jason's right. It was by far the most they've done since
Carolina.
Funny because it didn't seem.
And I've talked to guys in the locker room who say without a fullback on the roster, Kareem can be that fullback.
Yeah, I don't know why. We've all talked about that. That's been the biggest complaint. I think the fairest complaint.
And I do feel like they committed to the run last night again after the Amari pick. It felt like there was 1 or 2 drives where they said, we're just going to line up with our big bad boys and we're going to run right at you.
Which is smart. But it's not the first time this year they've done it.
And
it's
just
the
felt
last
like
2 weeks
it settled things down. And Kevin's like, you know what? Screw the trickery. Let's just go right at them. And
go ahead, Mikey.
Can I make a prediction real quick?
Before you do, let me tell everybody, subscribe to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. We have 17,200 and change subscribers right now.
Wow.
And you could also become a member. And you could have emojis. Who doesn't want an emoji of Mikey McNuggets looking pretty goofy? or Jay with his hands behind his head, or my giant face with a weird smile, or G with a sly look on his face.
Mikey McNuggets looks like he's at the proctologist right now, getting a finger up the keister.